This week's episode is brought to you by Khronicles Hair Care. Yep, that's right. We got a new sponsor. That's Khronicles with a K. And you can get 10% off your first order using the code LOVERS10. And now, to the episode. What's going on, world?
Hey, everybody.
This is your guy, TJ.
And this is your girl, Dani.
And this is another episode of Lovers Quarrel. What episode is this, babe?
28.
Yeah, 28.
Yes, 28.
Say it in Spanish.
28.
Woo!
Oh my God.
Gave me some goosebumps when you did that, girl. This is your first time listening to us. We thank you. We appreciate you.
We do. Thank you so much. I'm drinking from my mug.
If you're a returning lover, we appreciate you as well.
We do.
So, with that being said, let's get into the episode. Oh, before we do that, you heard that we have a new advertiser, so new sponsor, sorry.
Kitchen Chronicles.
Yeah, Kitchen Chronicles. So you see, good interview. You get some new sponsors, you know. So yeah, go to kitchenchronicleshaircare.com. I will have the link in the bio. Get 10% off with Lovers 10.
I can personally attest to it.
Lovers 10. Go ahead, babe.
No, I'm saying I've used Kitchen Chronicles in my hair. I've used it in Tatum's hair and the souffle. And I need to order the oil. And it's dope. And support black businesses.
Exactly. So with that, we can go into our elevated talk.
Am I kicking us off?
I mean, you always kick it off. I got to hear the voice.
Okay, well, I am kicking us off.
You're not going to say doors open or nothing?
I'm about to. Can you let me get to it?
Go ahead, be great.
So, first, I have a couple things.
You got to say doors open first. You have to.
I'm about to. Going down.
You got to say doors open. You can't go down.
How
do you go down and you don't step into the elevator?
Doors open.
Okay.
Going
Stepping
down.
in. Okay.
So
you're going down.
I'm going down, then I'm going up.
All right, go ahead.
So on a more serious note, I'm really just, and trying to just keep up with the news, even though it is depressing as all hell. These basically like 21st century internment camps that
I don't know what that is.
An internment camp is where essentially like people who aren't necessarily criminals or prisoners are being kept. So like Jewish internment camps like during the Holocaust, or like the internment camps of the Japanese during World War II.
With the kids?
Yeah, with immigrants and how they're separating.
And they're like lost. They're like
some of them are, they aren't keeping track of them. But then I've also read that like it's kind of good that the government isn't tracking everybody that we're passing through these or having these being separated or being placed after they've immigrated to the United States. But my issue is like I've been reading articles about the basically about the state of these like camps or holding detention facilities that they've been keeping these people in, and it's like dogs in cages at a kennel, and it's just entirely unacceptable, and it's just truly frustrating just on a personal level, because humans don't deserve to be treated like that.
This is America.
I know. My other down on my elevator is going down another floor are the people who talk that talk when Kanye said everything he said and did everything he did, but then still streamed, still downloaded, still did whatever to support his album. I cannot name you one song off of that motherfucking album. I have not heard one song.
I just know the ones. I don't know the name of the song, but I know Drake wrote it, but they didn't give him writing credits. But that's besides the point.
But the point is, like, when we're in a day and age where I don't really feel like you can separate the art from the artist. And when the artist when the artist is saying things that are inflammatory or in support of somebody who pushes an agenda that has people ending up in these detention facilities and separating parents from their children, mothers from literally breastfeeding their children, and they're being taken away by ICE, yeah, I have a problem with that. So if you're going to be vocal and open about your support of a person, I don't care if it's just because you like their energy or whatever, like faux, yoga sounding, tantric, whatever you want to call it, BS he says, I'm just not with it. And so for everybody that might have maybe said that they felt some type of way, but then still supported him, or even if you just said you didn't care, just know that, like, in an indirect way, it's kind of whack.
So I'm on the opposite end on it. I mean, I didn't download it. I tried to listen to it. It wasn't I didn't like it. I feel like there's a lot of people who like it because it's just Kanye. He did the poopity scoop, and people thought that was funny, amazing, all other stuff. Sonically, I don't know. It was just weird.
But what would you have done if you liked the music?
If I liked the music, I'd have listened.
So
I personally can separate the artist, the music from the artist.
So you feel like he deserves to still make money off of things that he's putting out after he's said and done what he said and done.
I still feel like he should. I mean, those are his opinions.
Those are his opinions. Do you agree with his opinions?
No, fuck Trump.
So if you,
but
just
as adults, I can agree to disagree.
So
just because me and him don't agree on something doesn't mean that he's a terrible person. I don't know. I don't even know this nigga. So I'm not gonna jump into it to be on some like, oh, Kanye's canceled. I don't know Kanye. Kanye don't give a fuck about me.
Obviously,
he don't care. He don't care about play his music or don't play his music. So that's not gonna stop me from making my choice.
Well, I guess that my thing is that if an artist or someone whose music or whatever art form they present to me, if I'm aware that their beliefs or their support of certain people or ideals or political stances are ones that are detrimental to my community and to me directly and indirectly, then I don't have anything else for you.
If there came out that proof that by Kanye saying what Kanye said, it caused millennials or forced people to accept Donald Trump, if his voice was powerful enough to make change, then yes, I would say boycott him.
So whether or not, because you're not seeing a direct correlation between what Kanye supports and then the impact it has on the community.
I'm saying
so
me personally.
If he supported Hitler, if he said, you know what, Hitler might have been onto something there, would you have supported him? Because we know, like, I feel like Hitler is somebody who's like,
we know that
synonymous with being evil.
We know that that's what we've been taught, 100%. But
so you think there might be another side to this whole like
Holocaust thing?
Thing?
From what they tell us.
From what? So you think that there's like?
I would have to do the research personally, based off of what they say. Hitler was a terrible person. If he said he was fucking with Hitler, I would say I would have to understand.
I gotta see if I like the album.
No.
What if he said Martin Luther King Jr. was a bitch?
You ain't gonna throw my frat brother like that.
What if he said it?
Oh, nah.
But what if he said it? So that's the line in the sand?
Get the hammer. We out here.
Okay.
That's not the line in the sand. My thing is, it comes back to what I always say. Why do we care so much about what these people say? These people, like the social media, these public figures, they don't mean nothing to us. Why do we care so much about what they say? Why is it so pertinent of what they do, how they do it? You know, Black China about to have a third child, and we're so enamored by it. Why do we care so much about these other people? What they do don't make us shit.
What they eat.
Right? I said it wrong?
Yes.
Right. What they eat don't make us shit.
You're quoting R. Kelly? Kudos to you.
Whatever. I don't think that's R. Kelly. He used it in a song, but you're also the same person who said they would still watch A Different World and everything else, even though Bill Cosby was charged. So have the same energy. If Kanye's canceled, Bill needs to be canceled. Everybody needs to be canceled. So you canceling Jamie Foxx too? Morgan Freeman?
Well, what did Jamie Foxx do?
A woman accused him of slapping her in the face with his penis.
Has that been proven yet?
The accusation.
Well,
we live in a world.
Okay.
We live in a world where, as long as you make the accusation, it doesn't matter if it's true.
The accusation.
The truth doesn't matter anymore.
So, you would like me to answer that?
Well, I was still talking.
Okay, go ahead.
The truth doesn't matter anymore. If there's 5 other girls who come out and say Jamie Foxx is the same thing, now Jamie Foxx is known as the cock slapper. That's what he does.
So
no matter if that was foreplay or what, that's the world we live in. We live in a world where as long as you make an accusation, it can stick. Because now the Me Too movement is everyone feels some type of way. The woman says that Morgan Freeman did whatever, and now the interview comes out and he said Me Too or something. He said something.
He said, "I wish I was there," and I do. Think
and he wasn't even talking to her, but she felt some type of way, and that's all that matters. That's all we care about now. The accusations is more important than the truth. The truth doesn't even matter.
So what I will say to you is, as far as Morgan Freeman is concerned, I saw the interview. It does seem like it was taken somewhat out of context. So I'm reserving judgment on that one because it doesn't seem like it was in alignment with like the level of like with the like how egregious that it came out first. It made it try to make it sound. So
my thing is,
let me finish. So I'm reserved. So I've reserved judgment on that. Same thing with the Jamie Foxx thing. If he's been accused of that, then we need to reserve judgment on that. Now, coming back to Kanye said these things out of Kanye's mouth.
Yeah, he did.
So
but he also said it out of context. Some of it was out of context.
What was out of context? The slavery being a choice thing?
Yes.
Okay, or maybe that was backpedaling.
Okay. Well, I mean,
we can agree to disagree.
Of course. I mean, that's life. We're all going to interpret things differently. Him saying Trump was my brother and all the other stuff, I think he was saying it on a different realm. But again, because Trump is the worst person ever to everybody, then there's no explaining it.
You don't think Trump is a terrible person?
Yeah, I do. My question always comes, if Trump was your brother, if Trump was your uncle, if Trump was your father, would you feel the same way?
Yep.
Okay.
He is a awful human being. He is a sociopath and a narcissist.
Okay.
So I don't care how close.
I've never heard you talk about Trump like that before, though.
I've called him
before Trump was the president. You've never said when Trump came on and he was doing The Apprentice and all the other stuff. No one said anything.
I didn't watch The Apprentice.
It was good for television.
But
but now that he's the
leader
president,
of the free world, yeah, it's kind of problematic.
No, it's not. I mean,
it is problematic because if you're gonna
the world fucking voted him in.
The world did not. 53% of white women and
white women voted for him. But black people voted for themselves, and
all black people did not vote for themselves. Okay. I voted for Hillary Clinton, but what I'm saying to you is this: is that Trump, when he was a reality star, his scope of influence was not nearly as broad as it is when you're the president. Of the United States of America. But he was doing the
same thing. So my thing
is...
the
same thing. And that's...
My thing is...
that is the problem.
All right.
He's treating the country like it's The Apprentice, like it's a bullshit
and nobody had
show.
A problem with it.
No. There's a lot of people who have a problem with it. I have a problem with it.
Majority of people did not have a problem with it until he became president. Once he became president, now it's like, oh, shit, we have an issue with it. Before, it was good for television. We smiled. We laughed. Look at Trump.
Because
Trump is on television. He's doing this. You're fired. People are quoting him. It was good. It was all good. But once he became president, now we're like, holy shit. Damn, he became president. Because
people's lives are at stake. Nobody's life was at stake when you're sitting across Omarosa and Bret Michaels. So you're not like...
He was an influencer. He was an influencer then.
An influencer and somebody who can actually just make full out decrees and executive orders are two different things. And the antics and the things that he did that were good for reality television were okay. Were not even saying they were perfect, but they were understandable, relatable, expected for that realm that he existed in. Then, yeah, people did doubt and didn't take it seriously when he started to run this time, and then ultimately became president. But then the thing about it is he did become president because he positioned himself, and he basically he weaseled his way in, and he sold the people a dream, and then he went and now he's trying to apply.
There's no excuses behind it. There's no he weaseled his way in. He won. He won fair and square.
He's trying to apply the same logic that a fake reality TV show that he was on to national and international politics. That is how people end up getting killed. That is how criminal things end up happening. That is how you watch Russia collusion, freaking what you call it?
All this stuff is allegedly, but go ahead. It's allegedly. Everything's alleged until proven that it's true. Is it not?
Everything is alleged.
Does he not get a fair try? I'm just saying.
We'll see what Bob Mueller has to say and do when he.
I'm just asking you. I thought that everything is alleged, but if it's not, then what Jamie Foxx accuser said is correct. No, you're saying that it's not alleged.
I'll say this so we can keep moving on.
I guess.
To bring it back, because we've digressed. We're going down a rabbit hole. But
that needs to be our quarrel every week.
What?
Donald Trump. It's just
because
hours.
You know what? There's a. Sometimes when he has suspended reality in so many ways as far as the things that he's done and the things that he said. So sometimes you can't necessarily look at it through the scope of we're speaking about a reasonable person who might have done something unreasonable and done something illegally. So I get where you're coming from, because you're just trying to say okay, well, you have to keep the same energy for every single thing, every single time. And sometimes no, Donald Trump doesn't even deserve the same energy that a person who's allegedly accused of something on a lower level is, because we've watched him stand up in front of audiences of people and stand up in front of the world and lie. We've watched him do it. He will sit there and say...
he's the first president to do that.
No, he is not the first president to do that, but he is the first president to do it so brazenly and without any regard.
That's white people.
And that's not... That's an oversimplification.
That's not a lot of white people?
That's a lot of people, but he is an exception to any race, gender, creed, belief system. He is I can say to you again, if he was not born rich, he would be a serial killer. And I don't know if you want to just if it's because you want to just ignore it, or it's because you think that everybody deserves a fair shake, but he's not giving a fair shake to anybody. The only person he loves more than the only person he cares about is himself. And that's
cool.
That's not cool when you're the leader of the free world.
That's saying,
not cool. The whole point of being president is to serve the people. So you can't be selfish.
It's been changed.
You can't be.
It's been changed.
So and you're okay with that?
I'm not okay with it, but this is what America has chosen.
So what are you going to...
So we have to... For me, this is what y'all chose. So whatever happens, y'all have to live with that. You have to live with this decision, because Hillary was the better candidate. I understand you wanted Bernie Sanders, but Hillary was the better candidate. And for me, I want the president who's going to be the most qualified. I don't give a fuck about popularity. Who's the most qualified? And then America said, we don't care who's most qualified. We don't want a woman in the house. We want the WWE Hall of Fame TV personality. That's who we want in the fucking office. So the reality is, this is what you have. You have to fucking eat this America. And I understand that it burns you inside, because it burns me as well. But I want America to see this.
It's hard to tell from where I'm sitting.
Okay, well, I want America to eat it. You have to accept this. Everything that happens, you have to accept it. If North Korea was to bomb us, America, you have to say, y'all have to eat it. Y'all made that choice. And hopefully, people learn from this. Fuck it. Next time we have two candidates, who's the better candidate? Because that's what makes most sense. But it's not what's going to happen. Because the next fucking Republican who's a fucking TV personality is gonna win or whatever. You have The Rock now on a run, and you have other personalities. The fucking presidency is a joke now. And I think that was on purpose. I think it was all on purpose. It was Barack won it, and he stayed there for 2 terms. So now let's make a mockery of it. Because now it takes away from it. It takes away from what a president means. Because before, it was the highest job you can do. Here comes this nigger. And now he's in the office for 2 terms? How dare he? So now we put fucking Donald Trump in the office, and now anybody could be fucking president. Anybody. Anybody who want to be president can be president. I'm just waiting for Roseanne to say, I'm throwing my hat in, and I'm running. And she'll probably win. She'll be the first fucking woman president.
Kanye,
and then we'll be here again.
Kanye probably next. He'll drop a fire EP on his campaign trail, and everybody will vote for him. But
probably.
Sorry to dominate the elevator talk, but that was my elevator talk. Oh, and my going up.
Yeah, excuse me. Go up.
Going up. School's out for summer. It's official. I turned off all my alarms this morning. Your girl is on summer break. Won't he do it? Glory be to God. And you, sir, are we going up or down?
I mean, you kind of went down, and then you went up. I mean, listen, let's stay up. I'm happy. Like life can always be worse. So, like I do at work, I'm living the dream. Smiles up. And forgive us. We have a guest, my line brother, Brad Watson.
Hi, Brad.
And we didn't introduce him as we normally do. I blame Dani because she typically introduced guests. But anyway, we have Brad, and we're going to get into him
Brad.
more. We're going to interview him a little bit more later. But Brad, do you have any elevator talk for us?
And let me know.
Are you going up or down?
Y'all already going up, so we're going to keep it going up because we want to stay positive. Being.
Excellent.
We like to throw that positive energy out there. So we want to speak on communication. It's pretty important. Amongst couples, amongst friends, everything. Communication is very important. Sometimes it's one-sided, but it needs to be equal because we need it on both sides. So make sure to always communicate so we get that message across.
Well, that's dope. I think we're going to touch on that a little bit later. So I know me and TJ kind of did a little round 1 of a quarrel unintentionally just now. But
I mean, listen, we get passionate, but fuck it.
Yeah, we do.
You know, we can converse.
It's beautiful.
We can agree.
I'm enjoying sitting here watching you all debate. That's the quarrel.
We can agree.
That's what the show's about.
Disagree and yeah, man.
I mean, and I don't even disagree with everything that you're saying. I just think that I disagree with how you react to what's going on.
But I also feel like it's kind of like when you was pregnant with Tatum. You wanted me to have a certain point of view, and I just didn't have it. There was nothing like I just wanted to live in the moment. There was nothing for me. You wanted it a certain way. You wanted to have a natural birth. You wanted it to be whatever. Like you wanted to try to figure things out. I just wanted a healthy baby. I didn't give a fuck about anything else. Give me a healthy baby.
Okay.
The presidency, I really don't care because there's nothing we can do about it. Only thing we can do about it now is go out, vote. Understand who's trying to come into office, who's trying to change positions, understand their policies, whatever city you live in, whatever town you live in. If you can vote, you have that option to vote. Because if you don't vote, you'll get another Donald Trump. That's it. But I'm not going to hate somebody. It takes more energy to hate somebody than it is just to live your life, especially for people who I'm never going to see, I'm never going to meet. I have no influence over these individuals. They're not coming in my door and saying, TJ, what did you think about this? You don't give a fuck about me. So why do I don't, but why do people put so much energy into these people? Why do they care so much about these people's lives? And, you know, I just sit back and I just watch. My timeline, when LeBron lost, make sure he doesn't say he's the GOAT. Make sure, why the fuck do we care so much about these professional athletes? They don't give a fuck about us. They're making millions of dollars. Why the fuck do they care about our opinions? You think LeBron is right now saying, damn, I lost, world's coming to an end? No, he won't. He go home to one of his mansions and his fucking family to do whatever the fuck he want to do in his own spare time. We have to get out of caring about what other people do and say. Who gives a fuck? Personally, like, it's cool to like comment on and have a discussion on it, but I don't care enough to like. It's not gonna ruin my day. If Kanye said he loves Trump, okay, it doesn't ruin my day.
Well, it doesn't ruin my day, but I think ultimately
you have a lot invested into it.
I think ultimately people should be held accountable for their words and their actions, and I think you're underestimating the power of the consumer because
I'm not though.
Because
even with that,
you're saying that
even with that. Sorry to cut you off. Even with that, people were saying they didn't want to see the new Superfly movie. It doesn't look good. But a few months ago, he was all saying, go see, what's the name? Go see Black Panther. It's a black movie with a black cast. There's another movie with a black cast. And now we're demeaning it. Same thing with the Tupac movie. Black movie with a black cast. Someone says it was trash. We're not going to go see it. So, y'all can't pick and choose which energy y'all want to have. If y'all going to support black regardless. If the shit is trash, go see it and say it's trash and still say go see it. But you can't be like, oh, only go see this movie because people say it's good and then don't see this movie because whatever. Superfly, I mean, listen, it's a remake and it has me interested and I kind of want to see the old one after I see the new one to kind of just see like, okay, what did they keep the same? What did they change? Which one was better? But as a community, the consumer picks and chooses. When you want to be pro-black and when you don't want to be pro-black. Excuse me.
Okay.
But
well, moving right along. We're going to jump into the relationship tip of the week. And I think that this relationship tip of the week is pertinent because it ties into our theme and focus of our interview and episode. And the relationship tip of the week is that therapy is not a 4-letter word. Because all couples sometimes, or even, again, we always say relationships don't just mean your significant other. They could be a familiar relationship. It could be even a friendship because Tony and Joan are girlfriends. They were best friends and they went to therapy together.
I mean, we went to therapy together.
We did. And saying that it's not a 4-letter word because it's not a bad thing. Because you know what? Everything sometimes is not, you're not able to figure out on your own. Or you're not able to, sometimes it's really hard for people to hold up a mirror to themselves and to be really reflective and introspective about what's going on in their world and going on in their head or what's going on in their relationship.
Or sometimes they just need to pay someone to listen. Listen, I just need you to just listen. Let me vent so I can just get what I get. You can tell me whatever, but...
Yeah. And so as far as your relationships, and I'm not saying, we're not encouraging people to say like, oh, this only specifically even the couples therapy. Sometimes going individually is what you might need in order to be a better spouse, a better friend, a better daughter, mother, son, sister to the other people in your life. So just know that sometimes everybody needs help because everybody goes through it and that there's nothing wrong, with seeking professional assistance. When your car breaks down, you go to a mechanic. When you get sick, you go to a doctor. And your mental health is the exact same way.
And taking care of yourself seeing somebody doesn't mean that you're crazy, doesn't negate the fact of who you are or anything like that. You should definitely take care of yourself. And we have to get into a mode of stop giving a fuck what other people think about us.
True.
We live a life based off of what other people are going to think. I'm going to wear this clothes. I'm going to wear these clothes. I'm going to talk this way. I'm going to drive this car because of what other people think instead of doing it for yourself. So, If you need to speak with somebody, it doesn't mean that you're weak. It doesn't take away from anything from you. You're doing what's best for you, but we have to stop shaming and stop like negating how others feel, or you know, saying they're weak because they needed help. Help is help regardless. So I just think that like Dani said, it's not a 4-letter word. It's not a negative thing. You know, if you need it, you need it. So Dani.
All right. Well, I think that wraps up our relationship tip of the week. And before we jump into our interview, we're going to have a quick word from our sponsors.
Hey friend, it's time for you to ditch those workout gloves and get the grip and wrist support you deserve. What do you suggest? You need to get the Gainz Load and Lock grips by Gainz Sports Gear. They are more durable than gloves, have a non-slip grip pad that provides grip support and added wrist support unlike your traditional workout gloves, and will protect your hands from calluses. Do they come in different colors? Not only do they come in different colors, but they are available for men and women. Do yourself a favor, go to gainsportsgear.com. And remember, a better grip equals a better lift. Embrace the process.
And we're back.
Yeah.
And now we have our guest, my line brother, Brad Watson, my deuce.
Hi,
Deuce.
Brad.
What's up? What's up?
Y'all, I really love Brad. He's like one of my favorite people in the world.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So Brad is obviously TJ's line brother, but he's so much more than that. He's our friend. He's family. And he is he works in real estate and property management, but also he is a budding actor.
Budding actor. Ladies, he's single.
Yes, and handsome and eloquent.
He drive a motherfucking
Oh my God.
what's that called? A motherfucking Mustang.
You don't have to say all that.
Know what I mean? No kids. Got a good motherfucking job. You're in my Baltimore motherfucker.
Yeah.
All they need to know is I drink a lot of water. That's it.
True
I
that.
drink a lot of water.
His skin is flourishing. And his beard connects, y'all. So
Oh, most
I
definitely.
feel like that was a shot at me, but anyway.
that's not always about you.
You're right. So
So
my line brother, you may be like, why did we care about his line brother? With the recent suicides of
Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain.
Mental health has always been something that's out there, and it made me post on my Facebook, is there anybody who has dealt with depression and suicidal thoughts and will be open to coming on to the show to discuss mental health and depression and how to deal with it? So my LB hits me up like, hey, I'm your guy.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was like, oh, we got to make this happen. So that's why Brad is here, and we're going to go through this process. So, LB, I appreciate you as always.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So, Brad, we're going to just kind of like kick it off because every story has a starting point. And one thing that we kind of wanted to know is how old were you when you first had your first like bout or round with like, realizing that like, hey, I'm struggling here, like with like mentally, like can you think of like a moment, or can you think of an age range where like you're like, you know what, this is a little bit more than just a bad mood?
I'll say up about a couple years ago.
Okay.
Because when you're going through it, you convince yourself that it's not that serious.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I spent a lot of time alone. So say not too long ago, I reflected back on feelings that I felt, situations that I've been through, where I realized like, damn, I think I have been depressed.
Mm-hmm.
I think I may still be depressed.
Mm-hmm.
So we like to have that feeling where it's like, no, it's not me.
Mm-hmm.
We can learn about the symptoms, hear different people's stories, but we convince ourselves that it's not something that we're going through.
Mm-hmm.
But it was something that I ended up accepting, because feelings that I've had are similar to those symptoms that we learn about when it pertains to depression. So it was something I accepted.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, how did it, like, for our listeners, you know, because depression looks and feels different sometimes for different people. So for you, like, how did it manifest itself? Like, how did you feel? And then, like, also, like, what characteristics did you exhibit to other people?
I stay isolated.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of moments where I felt like I didn't want to be a part of this world anymore, because of different things that I was going through, or feelings where I felt like I should be at a certain point in my life, whenever that moment was. Years before this, you know, at this age now, I feel a little differently, but a couple of years ago, it was like, at this point in my life, I feel like I should have this, I should be at this certain spot. But yeah, when you get to a certain age and you realize that you're not where you think you should be, or there's certain things you think you should have and you don't have it, different things occur that make you feel like, you feel a little inferior, or you're going through certain things that push you in a dark place, and you start to struggle, and you feel like, I don't really want to be here anymore, you know. So I've had those feelings, but I also think about my loved ones, and how I could make a negative situation positive. Because TJ, you know, like, our dean, he taught us to always take a positive out of a situation. So that's something that I've practiced over the years. But in the beginning, it was tough for me, you know. So it was, I don't know.
I get it, and it's hard, because I mean, what you're talking about kind of reminds me of, like, I definitely personally experienced, like, the quarter life crisis thing. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to minimize what you're going through, but just saying, like, that feeling of, like, I'm supposed to be at a certain point in my life and I'm not there yet, and it's really disheartening, especially when you feel like, you know, for me, it was always kind of like, well, I did what I was supposed to do, so why is this not, like, why am I not reaping the benefits of the work that I put in, or the path that I took, because I did what society said I should do, and so then now I should be able to then see the fruits of my labor, and it wasn't coming.
Right.
So for both of y'all, was it society that made y'all feel like y'all didn't meet whatever goals that were there, or was it like things that you saw or things that people said?
I think it was a little bit of both. Like, I think that, you know, I spent a lifetime being a star student, being the good daughter, being the good friend, and, you know, being told and experiencing that, like, Dani, when you do right, you know, good things will come to you. But then, you know, I got out of school and I was doing right, but I wasn't feeling or seeing, like, what I thought was appropriate for the level of, like, work I was putting in. Hindsight being 2020, I wasn't there yet. I wasn't ready yet. I was. It was my growing pains, and that's.
Could you have done more? Could you have done different things for you? And then I'm gonna go back to Brad, but.
I mean, I could have, as far as maybe the pursuit of, like, what I thought I wanted my career to be. I could have been more candid with, like, wanting to get an education sooner, because my issues kind of skewed more on the professional side about where I needed to be. But, I mean, there's always probably things we could have done differently, but the issue came down to was just that, like, I misdo right, so why is it not, like, why don't I not feel fulfilled? So I guess that's kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah, I could definitely feel where you coming from with that. Because with me, I don't really break too many rules the way I was raised. I had a father who, he wasn't too strict, but I knew by the look in his eyes he didn't play. You know, and I had a mother who was heavy-handed and had no problem putting her hands on me if I didn't make it in the house by the time the street lights were on. Mm-hmm. So I was always doing the right thing. But what we learned while we're growing up is you got to do more than just do the right thing. You got to go that extra mile. Mm-hmm. And I was the type of person who didn't really go that extra mile. Mm-hmm. I did what I was supposed to do, but after I did that, I was relaxing. So for me, the progression I expected wasn't really coming. Mm-hmm. And with that was kind of like a shock for me. So places where I expected to be at a certain age, I just wasn't getting there yet. Mm-hmm. And for me, I didn't know exactly where I wanted to be. I thought I did, but once I started getting close to it, I realized it wasn't something I had a passion for. So I had to figure out what was it that I had a passion for. I thought I knew, and once I pursued it, I realized that wasn't it, and that still kind of left me with a void. So
you touched on working extra, like doing the extra, like going extra mile. Was that something that like your parents told you, or was that just something that you saw?
That was something my parents would explain to me while growing up. I would hear them, but I wouldn't really take it in. I know something that my mother used to talk to me about was a cousin that we had who didn't have it too well. She grew up, a lot of her clothes were hand-me-downs. She didn't have too much. She ended up being a lawyer, successful lawyer at that. You compare somebody like that to someone who grew up a little more fortunate, their hunger isn't the same. So even though you do what you're supposed to be doing, we all learn as we grow older that you got to do more than what you're supposed to be doing. You got to have a little bit more hunger. You got to go that extra mile. So I was somebody who did what I was supposed to be doing, but I wasn't going that extra mile. So I wasn't getting the results that I expected to get.
Got you. And the reason why I asked that is because, like, growing up, I wasn't taught to do the extra mile. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was taught you go to high school, graduate, go to college, graduate, get a job. Yeah. That was the life. And when I look back at it, I go by, this is the era that my parents grew up in. In my parents' era, you got a degree, you got a job. Like it wasn't as competitive. It wasn't as like now you need to like have a job when you're like 4 years old. Like
they want that experience.
Yeah. Right. You got to be doing internships. Like, you don't go to summer camp. You need to be on the internships. Right. You need to be showing them, you need to be networking year round. Like, it's so much more.
Yeah, and what people don't realize is the work ethic goes beyond getting good grades.
Grades don't mean shit.
They don't mean shit. And people, when we're 17, 18, 19 years old, we don't realize that.
I mean, it means something to get into, like, college.
Right.
Like, to get into college, it means something. But the individual who graduates with a 2.0 and the individual who graduates with a 4.0 doesn't really matter if that 2.0 has the experience and 4.0 doesn't have the experience. Yeah. It looks good, looks great. But just because you have 4.0 doesn't mean that you can do this job. It just means that you're good with fucking textbooks.
It also depends on the school you went to. A lot of us go to public schools where we graduate with a 3.5, 3.6, 4.0 GPA, but we were also educated by teachers who they were there to get a paycheck. So our education isn't the same as people who went to schools in different districts. So when we get to institutions like Towson University or University of Maryland, we're put at a disadvantage. So even though on paper we had 3.8 GPAs, we still are equal to students who went to other schools like Roosevelt that graduated with 2.5 GPAs. And it's harder for us in these institutions to excel. Our work ethic isn't the same. We did enough to get by, but we didn't do enough to excel and stand out. So it's a little harder.
No, I can agree with that. I just thought that was like an interesting thing. I look back and I just say, damn, what could I have done differently?
Right.
You know what I mean? What could I have done differently?
I think
go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
When I was in high school, I could have, so I had a guidance counselor who told me, listen, get a 65, that's passing.
I remember you talking to me about that.
So I shot for 65.
Yeah.
I always wish my guidance counselor would have said, listen, 65 is passing, but if you want to go to a good college, 65 isn't going to do it for you. Right. I never had that.
Right.
And I think that have made a difference. But I appreciate my hardships because it has helped me just know, like, this shit isn't easy. Like, nothing is easy.
Nothing worth having is easy. I'm not sure if you all saw the movie A League of Their Own. I think her name was Gina Davis. Yep. It was the Women's Football League and
baseball.
Baseball. I'm sorry. And Gina Davis, she was the star pitcher or whatever, and she decided to retire And Forrest Gump was in the movie with Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
And he asked her, he said, I just don't understand why you're leaving the game. And she said, it got too hard. And he said to her, it's supposed to be hard. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
And I always think about that. And one thing for me was, my motivation was, my mom told me, you get good grades, you get the Jordans you want. I always wanted the freshest sneakers. That's how it is growing up in PG. Now, granted, I got the good grades, but I didn't retain the information. And it's important to retain that information. So even though I had those good grades, by the time I got to Towson, you know, my grades weren't the same because my work ethic was a little different. I want to work to get these good grades, but I'm not retaining this information to excel on these tests. So it was a little different for me.
And I wonder, you know, especially because like with how the kind of way the conversation is going is like, if there's a correlation between our generation and how we were kind of, sometimes it seems like we
were sold the dream.
Well, you know, I don't even want to say we were sold a dream, but I think that like our parents who were like Gen X or baby boomers, depending on how old your parents were, kind of were giving us the blueprint for what was able to work for them in their generation, but then it's not cookie cutter and it couldn't be applied to our lives. And then as a result, like there's this level of like we're this generation who many of us are left feeling inadequate in a lot of ways, and then that kind of takes it back to our mental health, which is like you're left this, you know, and we're talking kind of like about one avenue of this, but you know, we're left feeling like, hey, I followed the game plan, but it's not turning out for me the way it turned out for you. But you know, you and I graduated when the economy was trash. We had a floundering economy. You know, people who had bachelor's degrees were still working part-time at Nordstrom because that's all they could keep at that point. And it makes you really question like your self-worth. And when people start to question their worth, then that's when you start to kind of some people sometimes start to slip into that more depressed state. And now, of course, there are other causes and factors that don't have anything to do with like I'm not where I'm supposed to be in life, because a lot of people go through that, but they're not depressed. But so a question that I have for you is like, what might have been like, besides the kind of like societal part of it, what were some other things that might have triggered or you think influenced the issues that you might have started to recognize in yourself as, you know, a few years ago? Like what other things might have kind of added on to that?
Well, one thing is expecting where I should be at a certain age and not being there when I reach that age. For me, growing up, I always wanted to be a family man, because as great as my dad is and my mom, I never really saw them together. So having to be the kid who packs a bag every Friday for his dad to come pick him up for the weekend, I told myself I never wanted to have that. So my parents had me when they were 21. So I thought that was normal. You know, so the way I envisioned it was, you know, I'll have kids by my early to mid 20s, and that didn't happen. We all want to graduate with a degree and end up getting a job that's $70K plus. You know, of course we know.
That'd be nice.
That's not happening. You know, so with these things that you expect, and you reach that age where you thought you would have them, and you're still nowhere near that, it kind of messes with you a little bit.
Definitely.
So for me, I remember I was having a conversation with my dean, and he said to me something similar about me and him is that we love hard. I love very hard. I get that from my father. And I think the biggest thing for me that will fuck with me is still didn't have a woman. You know, with all the stress that's going on in life, all the frustrations, all the obstacles, it's good to have that one person at the end of the day you can retreat to and talk with about what's going on. And I never had that. I had it like early on when I was like 18 years old, but I didn't even realize what I had. I had a lot of maturing to do. But as far as my 20s, I didn't have it, and I was looking for it for the longest. And when you just don't get it, and you're pursuing it, and you're trying to get it, it just fucks with you after a while. Mm-hmm. So in my 20s, nothing was going the way I wanted it to, or was expecting it to, or trying to get it to. And it kind of caused me to isolate myself.
Okay.
Because when it's something you're pursuing and you're just not finding anyone to get it from, you kind of feel like you're not really wanted.
Yeah. So there's like a level of I think it comes back into that like self-worth thing. You're like,
Yeah.
And so you kind of retreated from the world a little bit there.
Yeah.
And I remember I remember the moments, and sometimes those would be the times where, like, maybe not so much, but there were definitely points in times during our friendship where I'd be like, I'm gonna text Brad, like, hey, where you been? Like, what are you doing? Like, are you okay? Because I just felt like I haven't heard from him, I haven't seen from him in a little while, and it's important to just sometimes just throw a little line out there and just to see if you'll nibble, to make sure that you're okay, or that you're still with us. And I mean, I didn't think that I was gonna necessarily like come up on or find out something like horrific or anything like that, but just like sometimes,
I mean, you never know though.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, just sometimes when people go quiet, sometimes they go quiet not because they just want to be quiet, but because they've kind of faded away a little bit. So you want to like try to bring them, add some color back to them, kind of thing.
And I appreciate that, because you all definitely send me those type of texts. It's been like that for a few years now. Mm-hmm. Growing up as a black man, we're taught that the emotions we have, we can't show too much of them.
Agreed.
So I try to hide it. I've gone through a lot of pain mentally, but I don't want people to really know about it. So when you all reach out to me, it means a lot. But when I'm feeling vulnerable or feeling weak, I stay to myself, because I don't prefer people to see that side of me.
Yeah. And I understand, because there's a lot of like societal norms that get pushed up on us about that. And
Fuck
like,
societal norms.
Yeah,
it's
right.
But it's easier said than done.
No, you're right. I'm
like
I'm speaking from a different point of view.
You have a level of willpower or ability to.
That's because my father was like the worst annoying person, and I mean, he was preparing me for life. Mm-hmm. But we don't want to hear that. Like, he used to call me and I had to just do simple shit, and it was just like, what? Yeah. But when life gets hard or someone is saying stuff, it doesn't bother. Well, for me, it doesn't bother me. Yeah. It doesn't bother me. I used to have to like come, and he'll be like, and why are you strong? And I had to be like, because I'm a Byerson. Yeah. Like, and this would be just whenever he called me. Like, I could be playing video games, but TJ, come upstairs, and my parents are having a party or something. He'd be like, and why are we strong? And I used to always hate it because we're a Byerson. What? Like, know what I mean? But yeah, it helped me. My father, mentally tough, I had to be with him. And by doing that, it kind of made me like, no one's fucking with me. Yeah. And just some of the things he, some of his monikers, like, one of us is gonna be uncomfortable, it's never gonna be me. I've kind of adapted that, And then as I got older, I kind of learned, and I've seen different things. And then, we've been online together, seen different things. Now I got line brothers. I already have a brother, but now I got line brothers. I'm seeing a different world. Mm-hmm. Because before that, I'd never thought I'd be a part of a fraternity. Yeah. Fuck. I'm not joining this shit. But I was also my father. My father was like, it's legalized gangs. So when Dani wanted to be a Delta, I gave her shit.
I remember that.
But the blues.
I mean, we project what we're taught. Mm-hmm. So, that's what I was taught. but it was serious enough for you, and we got through it. But say that to say, we have to make sure that we instill in, you know, the future that it's okay. It's okay to be emotional. It's okay. And honestly, I think that may be a reason, and again, I'm going all over the place, but that may be a reason why I really like Drake and people hate him, because he's in touch with his sensitive side.
He expresses himself.
And at the end of the day,
that too.
at the end of the day, people can hate that, but I can relate to it. I understand it. And at the end of the day, we all have sensitive sides. We're not all hardcore 24/7. Believe it or not, we're not.
No.
And some of us aren't hardcore. The shit that I would have done when I was 13, 14, I wouldn't do now. I'm a bitch, you right. I'm a bitch. I'm going to take that. Because at the end of the day, I want to go home. Because there's some niggas out here who don't give a fuck about living. Yeah. And I don't want to. I do. Like, life is fun. You only get one life. And I'm not going to play chicken or try to prove myself to somebody if it's not worth it. You can call me names. Cool. You could do that. As long as you don't touch me, as long as you don't touch my wife, my kid, you can throw names. We cool with that. That's the bigger picture. But I mean, that comes with time. Mm-hmm. But again, the fact that you're able to see that is dope. And every time I speak to you, I always tell you, be yourself. Fuck it. Yeah. You know what I mean? If a chick don't want to fuck with you, if someone don't want to fuck with you because of who you are, then fuck them. Yeah. You got to be yourself. Because at the end of the day, we can't live this life putting on a facade for other people. Fuck them. Because at the end of the day, when they go home, they're not going to be like, I wonder how Brad is doing now. They don't give a fuck.
Right.
So why change who you are for them? Fuck them.
And I think you make a really valid point. And I also think, though, it's like sometimes it's society, sometimes it's those things. But then I think when you're like in that place where like you're really questioning yourself, you are in your own head. Like, you are your worst critic. So even if you don't take, you know, even if you can rationalize the world away, sometimes you can't get out of your own way. You can't get out of your own head sometimes, because I think we've all struggled with that. I know I have personally. And it's really difficult sometimes for you to see yourself the way other people see you.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, because you're like, I'm this super flawed individual, and how could anybody think that have anything to contribute or have anything to add to the world or to the conversation? Like, you know, it can run this gamut, you know? And it's really difficult to like, you could arguably you could tune everybody else out, but how do you tune yourself out?
Yeah, it's impossible.
And
it's hard. I mean, that takes time and learning yourself and building yourself, definitely. And that kind of goes perfect with like the next question. How did you cope during this time? Like, when you were going through whatever, how did you, when you were fighting yourself and fighting your thoughts, how did you cope with this?
To be honest with you, I smoked. Marijuana became my friend because it'll calm me down. It'll also alter my perspective on certain things. Certain cases, it'll make me a little paranoid, but at the same time, it kept me calm. But it was also a bad thing for me because it kept me isolated. Mm-hmm. You know, so I missed out on a lot because I'm feeling bad about something, so I'll smoke. Once I smoke, I don't want to leave the crib because I'm so calm that I don't really feel like talking to anybody. Mm-hmm. So it would calm my nerves, but it would keep me isolated. So
have you ever like talked to a therapist or saw a counselor or anything?
No, actually, I plan on getting a therapist in the near future. My dad, he told me like a year or so ago that I should consider getting one, but you know, in our society, they make it seem like it's a bad thing to have a therapist. Yeah. But I want a therapist at this point because I need somebody to express myself to, because a lot of the people who I felt like I should have been expressing myself to, if you try to, they don't really care to hear you. And then for some people who are even friends, you could try to express yourself to them, but in the midst of doing it, they cut you off, or they start to compare your problems to their problems. And we have moments where we don't need to hear your problems. We need to express our problems and have a lending ear. And it's kind of hard to find that nowadays. Like, yeah, because a lot of times we just need somebody to hear what we have inside of us. And nowadays, so many people, they don't really hear what we're saying. You know, they hear to respond, but they don't really hear to listen. A lot of times we need somebody to just listen to us. So it's something that I definitely plan on doing.
Yeah, people sometimes spend more time formulating a response than actually like listening to what you have to say.
And sometimes people don't know how to be friends. Sometimes people use that title but don't really understand what a friend really is. And I say that because you may have a friend who lives in a different state. Y'all may not talk, but when y'all do talk, it's like y'all talked yesterday.
Right.
But then you may have a friend who's like, you know, you always hit that friend up. You're always reaching out to that friend. That friend never reaches out to you. And a week that you don't reach out to them or whatever, they're in their feelings. And you know, as we get older and we start branching out, learning more, doing other shit, once you start having kids and then you get married and you have all this other shit, that other stuff, sometimes you are going to forget friends. Sometimes you are going to need a friend to hit me up. I'm sorry, I normally hit you up, or sorry, I haven't hit you up in a while, but I'm going through things. Or sometimes it's okay for that other friend to reach out and just be like, yo, are you good? Yeah. But a lot of times we're so caught up on things that happened in the past or how the friendship was, because that's what we think a friendship is. So.
And right. I mean, I think to kind of touch on what you're saying, like, I think it's important, and I think it's going to be beneficial for you, like, you know, saying that you want to do it, and just go ahead and seek that additional help, because like I said in the beginning with the relationship tip, if your, you know, Mustang had, like, you know, needed a spark plug or needed whatever, like, you know, there's certain things that you can kind of do on your own, but then there's other times when, like, you need a whole new engine. You got to go to a professional. You got to, like, somebody who has the expertise, who has the training to give you what you need, so that way you can live a better life, you know? Personally speaking, I, like, more recently just started to, like, seek out and try to get a feel of finding, like, a counselor, because I've, you know, we all have our own issues, but, like, as most people know, like, 2017 was a really rough year for me. And, you know, I had the birth of my daughter and the death of my dad. Yeah. And so, like, it's taken its toll on me and some of my most important relationships. And I can't be the best version of myself for people and for myself if I don't necessarily try to, like, work on the things or the issues that I have, or even just have somebody to talk to who is removed from kind of like the day-to-day or what is my life. It's somebody who's unbiased, and someone who, if in the very least, whose job is there to sit and listen. Yeah. Because it's amazing to have somebody who just sits and listens and doesn't try to tell you how to fix it immediately. It doesn't, like you said, try to compare apples and oranges with their problem versus yours. So I think it is really important. I commend you for, like, you know, being open to doing it, because there's obviously, we know that it comes back to, like, our community doesn't always necessarily big up, you know, getting professional mental health, but it's the same thing like going to the dentist. Yeah. So
how does your own struggles with mental health impact your relationships, or how has it impacted your relationships in the past?
Well, I feel like relationships in the past have contributed to my mental health presently.
So it's like a chicken and egg.
Yeah,
thing.
So with prospective relationships I have now, if something happens that makes me feel like it's a familiar feeling with something I've experienced, then I put up a wall. Mm-hmm. You know, defense mechanisms come out. Okay. And then that's when I look crazy. You know, so unintentionally I'll push people away. I don't mean to do it, but it's like if I feel like I've seen this before, I'm gonna push it away because I feel like you feeding me bullshit, and I'm not for the fuckery right now. And even though it may not be that, I've experienced it multiple times, so I'm gonna block you out because I don't feel like dealing with that negative feeling, that feeling that drives me back to that place, that hole, where I feel like, okay, I need to smoke to feel better, you know. So I'll push people away.
So knowing what you know about yourself and knowing where you were and how far you've come and how far you still have to go, what do you think you need, or what do you look for in a potential partner? Because I don't want to answer the question for you, so let me ask you this, like, as it pertains to like what Brad needs out of a partner in order to feel supported with your own struggles, like what does that look like, or what does that person possess? Man,
I just need somebody to take a chance on me, man. A lot of women, women and men, I don't want to just generalize with women, but I don't like guys, so I'm talking about women. But it's like,
I'm confused.
Y'all out here looking for somebody perfect, and the minute y'all see a guy with some flaws, y'all want to run off. Or y'all have different dudes in your phone that you fucking with. Or, you know, y'all get a lot of attention on social media. So if you getting that attention, that kind of deteriorates your humility and appreciation. So I just need somebody to take a chance on me. When you take a chance on me, you'll see my flaws, but you'll also see my intentions. And nowadays it's a little harder because with the social media, you get all that extra attention. And, you know, a pretty face gets a lot of attention. So, I don't know. It's like with experiences I've had, I feel like when a woman sees that I'm not perfect, it's easy for them to move on. You know, and it's like I've had stuff from my past to shape how I am presently, but just have some patience. Fuck with me for a little bit, and you'll see that I'm a good man. But I don't know. It's harder for people to deal with that nowadays. So
now, do you think that you give women chances? Like, do you think there's a woman who probably wanted you, but she wasn't your type, or she wasn't your your usual woman, so he was like, nah, I'm good?
I feel like I've messed up some, you know, prospective situations because I'll see something that looks a little familiar pertaining to somebody that I've dealt with in the past where the situation didn't work out. So I take those as lessons learned. So presently I'm actually getting to know somebody right now, and she has a wall up, and I don't know how it looks, but I tell myself, you stick with it, because a lot of us nowadays, when we see something that looks like a potential red flag, we're quick to run off. But my father told me something a couple years ago. He said, all women are crazy. It's just a matter of what crazy you want to deal with. You know, so the current young lady I'm getting to know now, I don't know what the hell is going to come from this, but, you know, she sparks my interest, so I try to stick with it.
And I'll say conversely, if your father's going to say, well, women are crazy, so are all men.
I'm pretty sure of it. I know I'm crazy, but a lot of times that crazy is synonymous with passion. You know, a lot of times we're passionate about certain things, and we don't like to be played with. You play with us, it's like you fucking with us. What you fucking with me for?
Well, nobody likes to feel like their emotions are being toyed with. Yeah. No matter what your gender is. But I think that makes me, you know, makes me want to ask you this. You know, you want somebody to kind of like take a chance on you, but what is Brad doing to then make Brad open and available for a partner, or for you know, a woman to come into your life? Like, you know, so let's say there is a woman, or maybe this young lady that you're talking to now, and she is like kind of like low-key taking a chance on you. What are you doing in return to like be a person she wants to continue to take a chance on?
Staying positive.
Okay.
You know, from learning from past experiences, it'll be certain things that she'll do where I feel like she's playing with me, you know. But instead of lashing out at her, you know, just fall back to see how she reacts or how she acts. I don't really feed her any negative energy. 30 years old now. You know, I'm a lot different than 25, 24-year-old Brad.
Definitely.
So I'm not about really getting into arguments via text or anything like that. So my outlook is a little bit different. So if you playing games, I'm not really gonna act all crazy. You know, I'm gonna just be cool about it. Cause I tell myself a lot of things when you can speak things into existence. So I tell myself, you know, I don't have any kids. I got a cool little crib, nice little car. I stay humble though, you know. So I'm a young cool dude. You know what I mean? So I keep telling myself that it's no point in stressing over a female. You know, I used to stress over a lot of females in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing now is, you know, if you want to get to know me, you're going to put in that effort. Because I'm going to put in the effort to get to know you. If I'm putting in that effort and it's not reciprocated, I'm going to fall back. Because there's a lot of women in this world. And it may take me a while to meet a new one, but I'm going to meet a new one. You know, so just stay cool about it. And it's been working out so far. So we'll just see where it goes from there. But I lost my cool a couple times in the past because I'm so passionate. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if you plan with me, you know, I'm going to bust your ass on it. Whereas now it's like if you plan with me, I'll just stay cool about it because you missing out on something good. 30 years old, man, it's a lot of dudes out here my age that they may look good. They may flash their little bit of money, but they don't have a lot going for themselves. Mm-hmm. I got some good shit going for me. So if you pass up on me, I mean, you missing out on the good dude. That's your loss. Meet the next person. So little lady that I'm getting to know now, if she got other dudes in her phone she rapping to, keep rapping to them dudes. You're going to miss out. Mm-hmm. You got a good one right here. I'm confident about that. You hear me?
Well, oh, Brad. See, this is when I like when Brad starts to feel himself. I like it because, you know.
You got to be confident, man.
You do have to be confident. It's a good thing. It's a sign because, like, you know, of your growth over the course of, you know, the years and kind of like how you've come to be more self-assured. And as a suggestion, as a person who loves you, is always like, I think that when you find that you do put the work in to like do the professional side of things too, like when you have that, it's only going to help you further become the like more self-assured and confident person that that will be everything someone is looking for. And then and also being able to recognize what you need in a partner that will be like beneficial for you. Like it can only be better than as time goes on.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
And my advice is just live your life.
Yeah, you've been telling me that the whole time, man.
There's no game plan for love. And in our last episode, that's what Coop said. She was just like, you just gotta live. Like you can't Coop said it in Chico, like you can't expect love. You can't work for it. Most of the time, love comes or relationships come when you least expect it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's my experience.
That's where my best experiences came from. When I
least expect it. Like when you doing everything to try to find a relationship, that's when a relationship doesn't come. But when you bullshit and you playing basketball, and she be like, I got next, and it's like, who the fuck is she? But that wound up being
that's Monica Wright McCall.
Exactly. The next one.
Like,
so
okay, Monica. Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. Because ever since I turned 30, I told myself, you know, pretty much my whole life I try to control how my life goes. I'm that type of person who, when I approach the pool, I stick my toes in first before I jump in. Mm-hmm. You got some people that like to just jump in. Mm-hmm. I'm not ready for that cold water to hit my body just yet.
Yeah.
But nowadays it's like, man, just live life. The way my life is going right now, I have a job in the city. I live in the city. It's pretty much downtown. I never thought I would like it. But ever since the first day I've been out there, I realized I love it. I love it more than the suburbs. So that just goes to show, just when you think you know yourself, you don't know yourself. It's so much about yourself you need to learn. So now I just live life. And with that, I know that the things that's best for me are going to come. I don't try to control anything anymore. So I just live my life now.
That's wise words, because the stress that comes with trying to control everything is sometimes insurmountable. Like you just can't get past it. So being more accepting of like the way letting things kind of happen on their own is a good way at times to really like keep your sanity, you know? And I think that that's what it really comes down to. But we thank you, Brad, for talking to us, being transparent about your experiences, about where you've come from, how far you have to go, and everything in between, and how it impacts your relationships. And with that being said, we're going to move on to the last part of the segment, of the show. And we are now at our Lovers Quarrel. And I know me and TJ kind of got into it at the beginning of the show, so we're going to try and bookend it on the other side too. Now, we're trying to do something a little different, which is like we let our guests, we're going to try and let our guests kind of give us a quarrel that they think we should kind of debate. And Brad was so kind to kind of bring up, and he talked about a little earlier, like reciprocity and communication, or like keeping the same energy, givers and takers. Now, I know that sounds like a lot, but Brad, can you kind of like put a little bow on the things that we were talking about, so that way, and then me and TJ can kind of duke it out?
Man, pretty much when I talk about reciprocity, you know, I know with males and females, different things are expected, but I feel like we all ultimately want the same things, regardless of how we act and how our pride makes us act, you know. So if you expect something and you expect somebody to give it to you, you should expect to give it back. Don't just take and just not give it back, you know what I mean? So if I'm texting you some good shit, you know what I mean, you need to text me some good shit back, you know. If I'm eating your ass, you know, I don't really do that, but you should be able to, you know, no, don't eat my ass. I don't do that funny shit, but cook something for me, you know. Yeah. So I don't know. I just really believe in reciprocity. You know, somebody's making you feel good. Be considerate. Get to know that person enough to be able to do something back to make them feel good about it. So,
would you like to contribute to that?
I agree. I mean, listen, I think that everyone should, especially in relationships, friendships, whatever, it should always be a give and take. You can't always be takers.
Most definitely.
And a lot of people are takers. A lot of people will be like, you know, they'll send you something like, come donate to my organization, or repost my video, or fuck with me, or whatever. But then when you do the same, they'd be like, crickets.
Barely respond.
Yeah, so, you know.
Well, I think y'all are talking about like two kind of very different things, though.
How?
Because as far as like support of like ventures and things like that, yeah, like if every time you have a new SoundCloud link or something like that, I repost it or whatever, and then the one time I have a GoFundMe or something, like, yeah, like you should, that's kind of like that's not necessarily evenly yoked or whatever. But then I think too, when you're talking about like reciprocity and communication, or reciprocity as far as like the energy that I give into you, that you give into me,
that's not the same though?
If you, well, I'm talking like it's kind of,
I mean,
because I'm saying, because like that one, it's like you scratch my back.
Specifying it, or
I am. So I'm saying like you scratch my back, I scratch yours with that one. But then with like the one that Brad was talking about, was like, you know, okay, I give you what I want, what you want in intimacy. So cook me a meal. Maybe
I don't think he was saying that though. I don't think Brad was saying just listening. Because he clearly stated, if I'm texting you something, then text me back the same stuff. So I don't think it's just intimacy.
That goes.
I took
me,
it.
Yeah. With
what I took from it is he's saying that you should have the same energy regardless.
Everything.
So in every situation, if it's me and Bay, or if it's me and my homies, if I come to Baltimore City to chill with Brad, then I should expect Brad to come to Owens Mills to come chill with me.
Right.
So is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. But like,
I mean, if you want to keep on a relationship,
in regards to relationships, because there's so many things expected from certain genders. Okay, the women cook and the men take them out and spend money on them and all these different things. But it's like we all like the same things regardless of how we act. It's just that, you know, certain things with men, we'll try to play it off, but behind closed doors, we low key like that shit. You know what I mean? So just like on one of y'all episodes, y'all was talking about complimenting. Men like compliments too. So if I text you, or if I'm talking to you like, damn, love, you look good as shit in them heels. I see your calves popping, your legs look good. I'm trying to massage them things later. Mm-hmm. You need, man, let me know something. You know, if I send you a text about, don't just put LOL. get some creativity. Because if you text me hey and I text you hey back and that's all you get, now you feeling some type of way talking to your girls about it. We need that same energy. Men we like compliments too. We want that shit too.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And that's why I give them out. But I think
I give them out as well every Thursday.
I know you got your schedule now when you gonna give Dani compliments.
But I do think it's fair that for a compliment to be given, you have to do something for that compliment.
Yeah.
You can't wear the same outfit.
I agree with that.
You can't wear the same outfit every day and then expect me to be like, oh, we got Tuesday's shirt on again.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking sexy in that Tuesday shirt.
Right.
Like, if you don't care about how you look, if you're not going to put the effort in, if you're not doing that stuff, but you want a compliment, how does that work?
I can dig it.
Well, to kind of get back onto the topic of like keeping the same energy, I agree in the sense that like you obviously like if you're putting the effort in to hold a meaningful conversation with someone either in person or via text or with a phone, and that person is kind of like stonewalling you, that's not fair and it's not right, and that really isn't like, and it's I mean but everybody has their moments, but if that's like the consistent problem, then that's not fair. But I do think that like sometimes what the point I was trying to make earlier was like giving and taking should be it should be some giving, it should be some taking, but I think we have to also be realistic or be understanding of like how people demonstrate their giving, like, or how, you know, because I think it kind of ties into like almost like the love languages, like how I show I'm giving to you is going to be different than how you would show you're giving to me. So just because it's not coming in the same, because that's, I think sometimes people get that.
Give an example, please. I'm confused.
So he's saying like,
no, I'm talking about what you're saying. You're saying that.
So what I'm saying is that like, okay, if Brad is texting a girl, a woman, and he's giving her compliments, okay, and so because, you know, words of affirmation are what he likes because that's his love language, but maybe that's not her love language. Maybe her love language is acts of service. So she may not give him the compliments or might give him the words of affirmation in return the way that he's been doling them out, but she picks up his shrimp quesadilla on the way home.
Oh, that'd be big love.
So that, but the point, like I'm trying to say though, is that, you know, to Brad, before she hits the door, could be feeling some type of way, saying like her energy is not being the same, is not being reciprocated. Right. But in all actuality, it's just that like that's not her strength, and so then maybe it manifests itself in a different way. So the point I'm trying to make is, there is truth to what is being said, but there's also a caveat to it of like, I think we have to be open to understanding like how energies or keeping the same energy doesn't always look the same. So
I definitely, I get that. With and with getting to know a person, you learn how they show their love or how they show their reciprocity. But you get some people,
there's always
they used to. I'm sorry, I'm gonna put it out there. Beautiful women, they get a lot of attention. You know what I mean? So it's easier for them. So a lot of them could just put a LOL because they got a lot of men who are going at them. So if I'm giving you that type of love and all you put is LOL and I'm getting to know you, and on a good day when you loving my attention, I see what type of energy you give, and then on another day you just give a LOL. Nah, you playing with me.
So
you playing with me.
So back to Dani, you're saying that if her strength isn't words, then it's okay.
I'm not saying it's okay.
It's okay for her. And to me, I think that's the biggest issue with relationships. That's not my strength, so I'm not going to do it.
And they expect us to be consistent with that energy, because if we give them that same energy, then they're going to say, "Oh,
why can't they
something
go
wrong
above
with
and
him?"
beyond?
Well,
that's not what you are strong at, but that's what he likes. So why can't you do that? Because we do things that we don't like, or we do things that may not be our go-to, but we do it because that's what you like. Like in relationships, you should be able to. I'm a big believer that you should do whatever it takes to keep your partner. Whatever your partner is asking for, that makes sense. If you can do it, or you can try to do it, you should do it. It shouldn't be a limitation. It shouldn't be like, well, I've never cooked this before, so I'm not a cooker, so I'm not going to try to cook. No. He wants you to cook. I'm going to try to cook. Or fuck it. I'm going to bring my friend over and she's going to cook for us. Like, when there's a will, there's a way. Go ahead.
I think that there's always opportunities and times where a person can say, you know what, I'm going to step outside my comfort zone and I'm going to do things in a way that I wouldn't normally go about them to express that, like, hey, I'm trying to meet you in the middle here, or hey, I'm trying to, like, you know, speak your language. But I just think that it would be a little unfair to expect a person to then do that all the time. Like, I think that, like, there should be a healthy meeting somewhere, let's say, like, in the middle, where it's sometimes I'm going to do it this way because I know that this is what my partner prefers, and sometimes I'm going to, you know, and because if
we're talking
if
about
that goes,
texting.
but that's we're talking. That was an example.
All right. So I'm going to talk about the example. So if he's texting her, whatever, and she responds LOL, and that's it.
I just got that.
You just got an LOL text?
Hell yeah, I just got an LOL.
That's okay.
Stupid ass.
Oh,
Because
see,
it's all good though.
Because that's
cool.
not her strength. So it's
Right.
okay for her not to be able to engage.
No, I guess what I'm saying is that I was looking kind of at the broader spectrum of it. I wasn't just looking at the specific example that he gave, but it does require effort. So if you're not a big texter, but this person is, and if you want to get to know them, then you've got to extend yourself a little bit.
If you can't give the effort, somebody else will.
Yeah. And then when getting to know somebody though, you learn them, so you know when they're giving that effort, and if the energy isn't consistent, it kind of just makes you wonder, like, you know.
At the end of the day, if somebody wants to do it, they're gonna do it.
Exactly.
100%.
Because I know the difference between women who want to do it and women who are kind of like starting.
People
to
make
fall
excuses because it's easier to make an excuse than to have to attempt things.
Do you think I'm making excuses?
What?
Do you think my perspective is allowing for excuse making?
I do. Yes. I don't care what your love language is. My love language is this. You know my love language is this. So learn how to love my language. Don't be like, well, that's not my love language, so I don't have to do it, or I'm not going to do it, or I'll do it today, but then I'm not going to do it tomorrow. Like, what are we doing? Personally, I feel like in relationships, there has to be an even balance. You can't expect me to do one thing, but then you can't do the other thing. Like, we have to be able to maximize our wants. If we want this thing to last, if we want the thing to be faithful, if we want this thing to be strong, there may be shit that I do not want to do, but for you, I'm going to do it because I don't want somebody else to do something that I wouldn't do.
I mean, my big thing with it is, you know, because I don't expect anything for anybody, and I'm joking now, you know, but I want people to realize that when it comes to reciprocity, at the end of the day, we all like to feel appreciated. So if we're, you know, I'm speaking for men because, you know, I like women. So if a man is doing all this stuff to make a woman feel appreciated, and then our energy changes and they feel some type of way, a lot of times it's because we're not getting that reciprocated. So don't expect us to continue to dish it out consistently if you're not giving it back, because there's been moments where you gave it back, so we learn you. But then when you start to become inconsistent with it, that draws up a red flag, because a lot of times when you do that, it's because you got somebody else giving you that attention, and that causes us to fall back.
Well, I think that, but then everybody's experience is different, so that's probably that's been your experience. A bunch of times. I will say that I
love women though.
Okay.
I love black women. Women.
I can understand that that's your experience, but I think that, like, it's a little I don't know how I want to phrase this. Basically, though, you're talking about the whole conversations about keeping the same energy. So then I will speak for the ladies and say that energy can also be that needs to be kept by the men out there, or by whoever your partner is, men, women, whatever.
I don't know much about women,
but the point is, like, when you're talking about interactions in a romantic sense, if you're going to talk about keeping the same energy, but you can't make generalizations about an entire gender. You can't make
definitely.
just like I can't generalize about the men as a gender, because you are different from TJ, who's different from your Dean, who's different from this, because
shout out to Dean.
Everybody is different, and comparison is the thief of joy. And so if you continue to compare what the last one did to this one, to what your friend said, to what your homie, your brother is going through or whatever, then you're never going to be satisfied. It's never going to be enough. It's never going to seem quite right. It's not going to add up, because you're going to be consistently comparing what, even if you're comparing your experiences to others, or you're comparing your experiences to your own past experiences, because it's there's kind of like a realm of like, okay, I'm going to compare this to my previous experiences so that way I don't make the same mistakes, versus I'm going to compare this so much so that I'm going to basically possibly like negate or negate what I might have in front of me, because I'm worried about what everybody else. And I get that people can be dissatisfied. I get that people can be frustrated at times because their partner isn't speaking the same language as them, or isn't keeping the energy where they want it to be. But at the same time, it doesn't have to be the end all be all. I think that people are works in progress, and I think that people will mess up and people will redeem themselves, and then they'll mess up again, and they'll do that, because that's what being a flawed individual is.
It's human, yeah.
And so I can't stand here, or should I say sit here. I can't sit here and allow for the over. I feel like it's a little bit of an overgeneralization of like women in general, because I think that that's kind of what I'm hearing a little bit of. But I also do feel like valid points are being made on both sides. Like you want people, you always want to be able to, if you put yourself on the line, you want people to do that same thing back to you. And if it doesn't come back, then okay, you know what, lesson learned, and you move on. But at the same time, it's just like, give people credit for even stepping outside of their comfort zone from time to time, or shifting them what's comfortable for them for you. Like, give people some credit for that too. And so if it's not as consistent as you would like, you know what, that's okay for a time being, or depending on the situation. But at the same it takes time. Like, people, we like, arguably we are who we are by the time we're like absolutely like in middle school. Like, so getting people to unlearn and undo a lifetime of experience or a lifetime of like habits is easier said than done. Yeah. And I think that there are absolutely valid points on both sides, but can't like clump everybody together.
Right, most definitely. And when I think about certain things in myself, I try to tell myself that. And when I speak on it, I don't want people to think I'm generalizing like the whole female gender or anything. It's just based on experiences that I've been through that's been consistent. But also at the same time, I know it's things that I need to work on. So with young ladies, I'm getting to know. Well, young lady, I'm getting to know. It's certain things that seem a little similar, but I tell myself like, just keep going at it, because it's obvious this young lady has been through some things that causes her to put a wall up. So you keep at it if it's somebody you're definitely interested in. But at the same time, when you get to know this certain person, you know their patterns, you know their moods, you know how they act. So it's certain days where they may be a little different. You don't know if it's their mood or what's going on. But at the end of the day, we all like to feel appreciated, and that's where that reciprocity comes in, however you show it. Because I know this young lady, she's not a big talker. I done driven from Baltimore all the way down to where she lives to kick it with her, and she barely talked. you know, and I wasted a lot of gas, and I had to be at work 9 the next morning, but I still appreciated the experience of just being out there with her. So yeah, it just goes with how that person is, getting to know that person, and you know, once you know somebody, how that reciprocity is being conveyed, and when it's not really consistent or being the same, you know that something is off because you've put that time in to really get to know this person. I've really put in time to get to know this young lady. I ain't sitting here saying it's going to work out, or I don't know what God has planned, but while I'm getting to experience her, you know, I know her a little bit. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Regardless of how it is, if it's via text, conversation, or little gestures that they do, we know that person because we put that time in to get to know them. You know, if you genuinely take interest in somebody, you're gonna know that person after a while.
Yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head by saying like you put the time in to like know a person.
I know shorty, man.
Yeah, and
big head ass.
Oh my god.
What's up, Stony?
So I think it comes down to like something, and I think when you try with those walls with this young lady that you're talking to, sometimes you know you gotta chip away at it with a chisel, and you can't knock it over with a bulldozer. Like it's not gonna happen overnight.
Right.
But babe, you have anything else you want to add before we wrap things up?
Yeah, listen. I'm just gonna say what my mother told me. When they show you who you are, when they show you who they are, you're either gonna accept it or you're not.
Yeah, most definitely.
If that's not who they are and they're not gonna change, can you live with that person? If you can't, leave. If you can, then don't complain about it. So
right.
Well, I think that this was an excellent episode. We did a nice deep dive into a lot of different topics, and we want to thank Brad for being our guest, and we thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank y'all for having me. I ain't even get too deep for y'all. It's cool.
That's all right. We got time. We can have a round two. Anything you want to add, love?
Thank you for listening. Follow us on IG, Lovers Quarrel Show.
Yep.
Follow us on Twitter, Lovers Quarrel 7.
That too.
Send us your questions, your quarrel, your feedback to loversquarrelshow@gmail.com. And Brad, tell them your information. It'll also be in the bio, but...
What y'all...
What's your IG, Brad?
Oh, man. IG Furious Styles. Furious spelled with a PH. PHURIOUS_ Styles. Not on Twitter. You can hit me on Facebook, Brad Watson. And just remember, just because the sun sets doesn't mean the stars do.
Ooh.
That must be our first quote.
I just came up with that 30 seconds ago.
But yeah, follow him. Plus that way when he has his different acting gigs, he can always post that and you can follow him.
Yes. I love being in front of a camera.
Yes.
I go crazy.
And a microphone.
And a microphone.
Yes.
Yeah, I need to come back on here. I didn't get to let loose too much, you know. I don't know how long we was on here, but the time flew by. I enjoyed myself.
I'm glad. We're glad. Well, this has been another episode of Lovers Quarrel, and as always, I'm your girl Dani.
I'm your guy TJ.
And as always, we fuss.
We fight.
But we love. Bye.
Later, y'all.